came from a family that studied the Bible a lot, and you know a lot about it, but the family had a lot of hypocrisy about some of the things that was going on.
That family was all hypocrisy.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you know from that vantage point, it's like, okay, that's not what this guy needs. This guy needs to reconcile. Like, how can this happen? And honestly, I have to reconcile that will. I'm beside myself all the time. But it's, you hear accounts of what people went through, and it's like, are you kidding me? And no, they're not.
Yeah.
And, that is motivated. Well, I love Stacy anyway. I've always loved Stacy, but we've spent a lot of time mostly just listening to her. I mean, that kid needs to talk, and so it's good.
And in that congregation in Lewiston, when I was growing up before we went to Texas,
yeah.
I think it was about 10 other kids I knew of that were being abused at the same time as me.
It's horrible. I think some of it has come out. I don't think everything's come out yet, even. But when kids are getting attacked that way, it doesn't always come. It can take years to come out because they block it out and try to live their life, or they move on, and But I know some of it has come out, obviously, but not everything.
Yeah.
I'm never surprised anymore by it.
And I'm living with some of the repercussions of that, and will be to the day I die.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I mean, so isn't Stacy.
Yep.
And other kids. I know some of the other kids from that hall, but that's because I've been around this area for a long time, and stuff comes out, and people do grow up, and sometimes they talk and tell you what happened. But it's a hard thing for people to talk about, so that's partly why you don't always get the whole story.
Yeah, so it's no surprise to you then that I knew of 10 other kids being abused in that hall.
It's no surprise at all. I can't name all the kids, but I know some of them.
I don't remember some of their names either. That was a long time ago. I can see their faces though.
They're dead now.
Oh, really?
But I know, because I've dealt with them in the congregation. I've talked with them, and I've heard some of their story. I don't believe I've ever heard the whole story. It's a complicated thing, and it is prolific, and it's not like somebody can sit down and one paragraph tell you what happened to them. They could write a book about it and then write a sequel.
Yeah, it wasn't until I mean, it wasn't until the last few years that I would openly say that I'd been raped and beaten for 10 years of my youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean, and that is totally understandable, because that should not happen to a kid.
No, it shouldn't.
Period. And that kids they're not built. They're built to take care of, not to abuse. And if you abuse them, I mean, and then they get to grow up, and there's this piece missing that doesn't work quite right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have so much pain. Well, I was not one of those kids, but I have
That's a good
met
thing.
so many kids over the years. I meet them out in the field ministry. It's not isolated within just like the Lewiston congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, it's not.
It's prolific in our society. I meet people out in the field ministry, and they're from they were raised in different settings, but some of them talk about where they came from, and it's like, oh my goodness, and you don't know half the story.
Yeah.
And all you can do is you just try to listen and be supportive. I mean, you have to be a human being.
Yeah.
And that's what it's come down to for me. And I know, and people like you, you know more about it than any of us, and you know that that's what's needed. You need to be a human being, and it's a great thing that you have to offer other people.
In a weird, the whole idea of a blessing being a curse or a curse being a blessing.
Yeah.
You can find those elements in Scripture.
Yeah, and you can.
The one plus I would say about my experience is that I've now been able to use my life and what I went through to help others. Yep. And I've had a number of cases since even before I would say before I was even 20 years old, since then, and it's been ongoing, that other rape victims have confided in me when they didn't even know that I was one also. But there was something about me that they felt they could trust and confided in me. And sometimes it was just they wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
They just wanted to talk to someone, not me necessarily, but
right.
But for whatever reason,
it's a great thing that you can use that. I mean, it's a great thing that you can help other people. You can't change the past. You can't undo any of it, but you can use what you know to help other people, and you know that God can actually undo everything. He's not going to change the past, but he can help us cope with it now, and he can heal us completely in the future. And that's what I believe. That's what gives me courage and hope. And I'm a fairly empathetic, compassionate guy, but I can't be on the same level as somebody that's been through it. I do recognize that. I'm limited because I can't thoroughly comprehend what it must have been like. Although I have a very good imagination, and your sister is a very, very good writer.
Yeah.
Very good. And I've read every word that she's written to me over the years, and sends me emails. And anyway, she's an amazing person.
I agree. I'm glad she's still with us.
Yep, me too. I don't take it for granted either.
And a couple of years ago, she helped save my life.
Yep.
There's been a number of times in my life where I've held a gun to my head.
Yep.
And just asked for the strength to pull the trigger, and for whatever reason, I couldn't.
Yeah, she's certainly a person like yourself who will try to help anybody. And that's a great quality. You two are very different people, of course, but you both have a similar desire to help other people and to be compassionate, and you listen and you think. And I don't take that for granted. I value that when I see it. There's so many people who don't.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you before, but it's, I was obviously a very angry young man. And that's why when you knew me, I was pretty large for 15 years old when you met me.
Yep.
And the working out probably kept me from going to prison. But
having been a young guy myself, not dealing with the same issues, but as I've gotten older, I'm not going to say I'm old, but older, I've definitely come to appreciate. You got to be a lot more open-minded toward people, and you can't expect people. You got to cut people slack on stuff like that, and it's good. I've known about you for a long time because your sister has always expressed love and concern of what was going to happen to her brother, and actually her other sister too, for that matter. And and I remember all that. I remember those years, back in the 90s. In Winthrop, that's when I met you folks.
Yes, sir. Winthrop, Maine.
Anyway, I've always felt horrible about that whole set of circumstances, and we kind of knew at the time that we didn't have the whole story.
Yep.
It was very hard for us to navigate, and your mom was so emotional and scared. She was terrified. It was very hard. She was very hard for us to help. She's so scared.
Understandably so. I slept with a gun and a knife at the age of 14 before we left Texas.
Yeah.
Because I thought Mark was going to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely saw that terror. And it was very hard because Mark was such a smooth operator. But I remember meeting with him and your mother one time, and with some other, I forgot, I think it might have been Skip Berger and me.
Yeah.
And I think Noel Roy, of all people, came up.
Noel was there too, yeah.
And Noel was, he knew Mark, sort of. I think he knew his personality a little bit, but I don't think that he knew what had gone on I don't think he got that. I really don't. And I can't say that we completely got it either back then. I mean, because we were so new to the situation, and your mom was so scared. It was really hard to understand. I mean, she was not always coherent.
Yep. You could have asked me.
Yeah, maybe we should have. We probably should have.
Well, see, here's the thing. I was threatened in Vernon, Texas. I was threatened that if I talked about it, I would get in trouble.
And that's the way those guys work.
Yeah.
And I've learned about that in the years since, because I've become aware of a lot more situations than that one. And that is how those guys work. They are so manipulative and smooth.
No. By the elders.
Oh, I don't know. I'm talking about Mark.
I'm talking about the elders threatened me.
In Texas?
Yes, they said.
I would have never guessed that.
Oh, yeah.
That's not good.
Because that would bring reproach on Jehovah if I talked about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough time period. Well, I feel horrible about that whole time period.
Yeah, I don't put that on you.
90s.
Yeah, I'm not putting that on you.
Our organization was just finding out about how prolific that stuff was going on. We were trying to figure out how to deal with it. And we weren't trained in it, of course. And so I can see how brothers could get, they're following directions and they don't know what they're doing. But that was clearly wrong. I mean, where I stand today, I don't care who told me. I don't care if I get a letter from our organization saying, hey, whatever you do, tell them they can't do this, that, and this. I would never do it. I'm saying, sorry, you guys aren't here, and I would throw it in the trash. That's just me now, But,
Joe, do you remember the blue envelopes that were sent into headquarters in the mid-90s?
What about them?
The blue envelopes that were sent in
so when people got disfellowshipped,
for the pedophiles,
the material was sent to the branch. It was before the internet. We don't do it that way now. If people get disfellowshipped, we send it electronically. We have our own server, so it's all private. But it was put in a blue envelope because the people opening the envelopes at the branch office weren't always people qualified. They shouldn't be. Sometimes it might be a sister or a brother who's not supposed to be reading this stuff. So the blue envelope that's why they were put in those, so that they would go right to the right people. It's just an internal system. But
I get that.
We did use that for quite a few years, but we don't do any of that anymore. We actually don't report very much. We just report the facts. As far as is the person disfellowshipped? Yes. What date? What was the scriptural charge? No details, just scriptural charge. And that's all we do now. And then when we reinstate them, it's the same thing. We just send a note through email to a certain desk at our headquarters saying this person's reinstated now. Well, that's how that goes. It's way simplified, and we don't keep records on people and stuff like that, although we do keep records on people like Mark.
Well, the reason I bring up the blue envelopes
we want to know where all these people are.
Right, in the mid-90s, they had every hall send in envelopes for a pedophile list. We definitely did that. We were keeping track. It started around the 90s when we started to be aware that these guys were moving around. And so, that is definitely something we still do. We keep track of them, and it's evolved in the positive over the years. When somebody moves, we get informed from our headquarters. This guy moved into your congregation. This is what he is. And so if they are Jehovah's Witnesses, for whatever reason, we know who they are. The elder body knows who they are, and they keep an eye on them. And we don't appoint them for any privileges at all, period. I mean, if they come and help clean the kingdom hall, they can, but we don't let them be alone with children. If they are, we go and talk to them and say, hey, you got to cut that out. And if they don't behave, we have other measures.
But
Are you aware of how many names are on that list?
No, I mean not officially.
There's
there
over.
might be some.
I can tell you, there's over 20,000.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Because there was in October, the Watchtower Society lost an appeal to the Supreme Court about keeping that pedophile list secret.
Yep.
Because in California, over $2 million in fines were paid because they refused.
With that case.
Right.
I followed that one on the internet. Actually, in case you don't know, I have a special interest in that, just simply because of my background of things that I know about with certain people, and I did follow that case.
So so they tried to not pay the fine, but that list has over 20,000 names on it, and they refused to hand it up. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right?
Right. Well, I'm not going to get involved in what their decision is.
Right. I'm just.
I definitely have my own decision. If I know something and I feel like I need to report it to the authorities, I don't care. I can be told not to by anybody, which I don't believe that I would be told that. But if I was, it's not going to affect whether I report or not.
Yeah, I thank you for that.
To myself and my own conscience and my own standing before God, and we might have a policy that I don't agree with. I'm not going to follow it.
Yeah, I thank you for that.
That's not new for me. I've been that way for about 20 years now. But anyway, most of the time things work in a way that I can agree with, that makes sense. And most of the things that I've become aware of have already been reported to the authorities. So
yeah, again, thank you for taking that stance on it. If more people did that, less people like me would exist.
I definitely do. And I've had dealings in this area for a while because we've changed the way we handle a lot of this stuff. I mean, even if somebody is accused of that type of a sin now, the elder body locally doesn't just handle it on their own. The circuit overseer appoints a brother to go in and work with the elders on dealing with the case. And the brother usually is somebody who has experience dealing with people who've molested children. And so that way, a lot of the details of the way this should be taken care of get done right, rather than, I'll word it, newer brothers that don't have much experience, so.
Yeah, I think the February change to the Elders Manual was a good thing, right? Because it used to be two paragraphs, and now there's a whole chapter about child abuse.
We have such an extensive thing, and I know, Will, some of it is due to legal concerns, but it's also due to concerns over, the way we were dealing with this, there were some loopholes here that were not effective in protecting people, and we have to do something about that.
No, I think that's a win. Yeah.
I do too. I felt it a win because I could always see the day that I might get deleted as an elder in the congregation because I will have to do something against what we're supposed to do because I don't believe it's the right thing to do. And in some issues, I don't care. If it's some little technicality about something that I don't think really matters, I'll just do what you want. But on this, I can't have an apathetic view about something. I'm not stubborn. I'm not a stubborn person. So if somebody has a different way that I think, it would be better this way, I don't care. I'll do it whatever way they want, but not with this issue.
Yeah, and not only that, but the elders can be personally held liable in court if they don't report. Yep. What was it? I think about a year ago, you had two elders in Montana. Yeah. Are you familiar with
that? That's something I will never. I don't care. For me, I don't really care about the legal issue for me as much as I care about the moral, ethical issue.
I agree completely with you.
That's where, if I get fined something that I can't pay, they're going to do that to me someday anyway because this world is against us. They're against Christians.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to be in the future. We're not going to be more popular. We're going to be less popular. And that's going to be the test of every person who identifies themselves as a Christian. They're going to have to, what are you willing to sacrifice to maintain this identity? And So anyway, legally, that's like something I've never cared personally that much about, over doing the right thing.
Yep.
And I haven't always done the right thing because I haven't always known what the right thing was. But at this stage of my life, I know a lot more than I used to about what I think the right thing is on a lot of issues that, can blindside a person. Know from your own experience, your experience in life, now you're not going to be blindsided by as much stuff now.
Yeah, true.
And that's I take pride in wanting to do the moral, ethical thing, according to myself, and I think I can tell you're a person that like that too. So
yeah, even in the military, there was a number of times when I refused orders given to me.
Yep, I would be the same kind of guy.
And it was always, I was like, okay, court-martial me. Let's see. Like, I challenge you, push it. Let's see how this goes down. Every single time they backed off.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I have to follow my conscience on this. That's not a lawful order.
If you're following your conscience, there's a very good chance you're right.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes we have a wrong information or a wrong perception, but that's not typical. I think most of the time, if our conscience is kicking in, we know we're right. And other people might not know it, and it might take them a while to get it, and we might have to be willing to sacrifice something until they get it. But I like to sleep at night.
Yeah, right.
And so I still lose sleep over things that I know about, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
You know about different things than me, but I know about things that bug me, and I'm not
haunted by stuff as much. Yeah, I'm not I'm not haunted by it like I used to be.
Yeah.
A lot of that is time. Even my military service, I retired in 2012 or something, 2011.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, but there was a few things where there was really nothing I could have done. I did everything I could, but some guys ended up dying, and it was nothing within my power, but I still felt guilty about it.
Yep. Well, I think that's very human. And I haven't had people die like that, but I have been in situations where I felt horrible about what happened, and there was nothing I could do, but you do still feel bad about it. If you were involved in any way, you feel like you're part of it.